Joel Rifkin. In June 1993, the New York State Police pursued a vehicle violating traffic rules on the Long Island Expressway. When the car stopped, they discovered a decomposing corpse in the trunk. This was the moment Joel Rifkin, one of America's most prolific serial killers, was captured. Rifkin was a 34-year-old unemployed landscaper. He lived with his mother. Introverted since childhood, he struggled to form relationships with women. He turned to sex workers. He committed his first murder in 1989. He brought a sex worker named Heidi Balch to his home. During an argument, he strangled her to death. He dismembered her body and scattered the parts across different locations. This first murder gave him a strange sense of satisfaction. Rifkin developed a systematic method. He picked up women from Manhattan, killed them, and dumped their bodies in forests and lakes around New York. Over 4 years, he killed 17 women. Most of them were drug-addicted sex workers, women ignored by society. When caught, he showed no remorse. During interrogation, he described his murders coldly. He said they were just sex workers. He revealed that he didn't see his victims as human. Rifkin received a life sentence. He is still held at Ateca Correctional Facility. Ted Bundy. In the mid-1970s, Ted Bundy used his charm and good looks to mask his identity. He was one of America's most notorious serial killers. The handsome law student employed calculated tactics. He often feigned injury with a fake arm sling or posed as a professor to gain victims' trust. His first confirmed victim was Linda Ann Healy. She disappeared from her Washington bedroom in 1974, leaving only a bloody pillow. This established Bundy's pattern. Abduct, transport across state lines, kill and hide bodies in remote areas. Between 1974 and 1975, he killed dozens of women across Washington, Oregon, Utah, and Colorado. After 2 dramatic escapes, he reached Florida. There he committed his most brutal crimes. He attacked 4 sorority sisters and killed 2 at the Chi Omega house. Bundy's televised trial showcased his attempt to charm his way out of conviction. He even defended himself. Despite his charisma, overwhelming evidence led to his 1989 execution. He confessed to over 30 murders. The actual count is believed to be much higher. Jeffrey Dahmer. In July 1991, Milwaukee police discovered one of history's most horrific crime scenes. Inside Jeffrey Dahmer's apartment were human heads in the refrigerator, dissolving corpses in acid barrels, and disturbing photographs covering the walls. Dahmer's killing spree began in 1978. At age 18, he murdered hitchhiker Stephen Hicks. Then he remained dormant for 9 years. Starting in 1987, he intensified his crimes. He targeted young men from gay bars. He lured victims to his apartment, drugged them unconscious, and then killed them. What made Dahmer particularly disturbing was his post-mortem behavior, necrophilia, cannibalism, and using skulls as decorations. His most twisted fantasy involved creating zombie slaves. He drilled holes in living victims' heads and poured acid into their brains. When these experiments failed, he killed them. A tragic missed opportunity occurred in 1991. 14-year-old Konarak Synthesomphone escaped despite having acid poured into his skull. Police returned the disoriented boy to Dahmer, who convinced them all was fine. He killed the boy hours later. Dahmer's capture was accidental. Victim Tracy Edwards escaped and led police to the apartment. Confronted with overwhelming evidence, Dahmer confessed to 17 murders. He received life imprisonment. In 1994, he was killed by a fellow inmate. This ended one of America's most disturbing serial killer cases. Aileen Wuornos. In 1989, Aileen Wuornos became America's first recognized female serial killer. She targeted men on Florida highways. A sex worker with severe childhood trauma, abandonment at 4, abuse by her grandfather, and forced adoption at 14. She harbored deep resentment toward men. Her killing spree began with Richard Mallory on November 30, 1989. He was found shot in his car. 6 more men died within 6 months. All were shot on highways, with their cars and valuables stolen. Wuornos lived with her girlfriend Tyria Moore. Together they enjoyed a luxurious lifestyle funded by her crimes. Moore's cooperation with police led to Wuornos' capture. Recorded confessions sealed her fate. In court, she claimed all victims attempted rape, but evidence contradicted her story. The question remained, did she kill for robbery or from hatred of men? Executed in 2002, her final words were, "I'll be back." Her case provided crucial insights into female serial killer psychology. It also challenged assumptions about women's capacity for such violence. John Wayne Gacy. In 1978, neighbors in Des Plaines, Chicago complained about foul odors from John Wayne Gacy's house. The successful contractor and beloved children's hospital clown had 26 corpses buried beneath his home. He perfectly concealed his murderous double life. Gacy's killing spree began in 1968, but intensified in the 1970s. He targeted young men aged 18 to 25 at clubs. He lured them home with alcohol or drugs, then used his handcuff trick to incapacitate them. After strangling his victims, he buried them in his basement. When he ran out of space, he disposed of bodies in acid pits or rivers. His downfall came when 15-year-old Robert P.S. disappeared after a job interview at Gacy's company. Police investigation led to his house. There they discovered a horrific scene. 33 victims were buried in the basement and garden. Showing no remorse, Gacy dismissed his victims as people who meant nothing. The once beloved clown costume became a symbol of terror. Executed in 1994, he requested KFC as his last meal. He expressed no sorrow for his crimes, proving how effectively serial killers can camouflage themselves in society. Dennis Rader. From 1974 to 1991, Wichita, Kansas lived in fear of the BTK killer, Bundy torture kill. Dennis Rader appeared to be the perfect citizen, a married father of two, a church leader, and an ADT security company employee. His job choice was not coincidental. It gave him access to homes and knowledge of security systems. His first murders occurred on January 15, 1974. He killed the entire Otero family, including 11-year-old Josephine, whom he hanged. Rader's most disturbing trait was taunting the media with letters after murders. He began with BTK here again, and even included crime scene photographs to mislead police. After the killing stopped in 1991, BTK remained silent, but in 2004 he began sending letters again. This time he included computer diskettes. Police traced metadata from these diskettes directly to Dennis Rader. In court, Rader coldly detailed his victims' final moments. Families were traumatized further. "This was my hobby," he stated without remorse. Sentenced to 10 life terms, the BTK case showed how effectively serial killers can hide behind normal facades for decades. Ed Kemper. In the 1970s, university women in Santa Cruz, California feared hitchhiking. The reason was Edmund Kemper, a 6'9", 280-pound serial killer, known as the co-ed killer. He picked up young women in his car, then murdered them. Kemper's violence began early. At age 15, he killed his grandparents. After psychiatric treatment, he was released as cured. In reality, he had only learned to be more careful. Starting in 1972, he murdered hitchhiking students Mary Ann Pessa and Anita Lokshesa. He dismembered their bodies and kept their heads at home. With an IQ of 145, Kemper was highly intelligent and manipulative. His troubled relationship with his mother fueled his misogyny and necrophilic behavior. His final murders were his mother and her friend. He decapitated his mother, saying, "Now she can't scold me." Kemper turned himself in. He calmly told police, "I killed a few people." Still alive in prison, he participates in FBI profiling studies and detailed interviews about his crimes. He continues to demonstrate manipulation and intelligence, while also contributing to serial killer psychology research. Richard Ramirez. The summer of 1985 turned Los Angeles into a nightmare. The Night Stalker Richard Ramirez terrorized the city. He randomly entered homes at night, killing, raping, and robbing victims. They ranged from children to the elderly across all neighborhoods. This made police investigation extremely difficult. Ramirez's first victim was 79-year-old Jenny Venkow. He slit her throat after entering through her window. He often cut electricity with wire cutters to catch victims while they slept. Police's only lead was a rare Avia shoe tread pattern found at crime scenes. Adding an occult dimension, Ramirez drew inverted crosses on walls. He forced victims to praise Satan, intensifying media coverage and public fear. His most heinous crime involved 9-year-old Mei Lung. He killed and raped her in a basement, showing his complete lack of limits. Captured on August 31, 1985, in East LA, Ramirez was recognized by locals. They beat him before police saved him from lynching. Showing no remorse in court, he declared, "I am the son of Lucifer." He died in prison in 2013. He was guilty of dozens of murders that haunted Los Angeles forever. Gary Ridgway. In the 1980s, bodies discovered near Seattle's Green River launched America's longest serial killer investigation. Gary Ridgway was an ordinary factory worker and a married father of 3. Yet he spent 20 years killing sex workers along the SeaTac Strip. He confessed to 49 murders, though estimates suggest over 90 victims. His killing spree began with 16-year-old Wendy Lee Caulfield in July 1982. Ridgway picked up sex workers, strangled them, and dumped their bodies near Green River. Some he left in forests, others even near his home. Neighbors described him as quiet but kind, never suspecting his deadly nighttime activities. Driven by hatred toward women he considered dirty, Ridgway sought to cleanse society, yet he still used their services. This contradiction fueled his 2-decade spree. He posed as a customer, then strangled his victims. DNA technology proved crucial to his capture. In 2001, genetic evidence from an old victim matched Ridgway. After 20 years of investigation, he received life imprisonment instead of execution for revealing body locations. Coldly, he told the court, "I lived to kill them." The case demonstrated the power of DNA in solving cold cases. Harold Shipman. Elderly patients in Manchester adored Dr. Harold Shipman. He made house calls and seemed deeply caring. Unknown to them, this trusted physician was England's most prolific serial killer. He murdered at least 218 patients, with estimates exceeding 250 victims. Shipman's method was devastatingly effective. He injected lethal doses of morphine into elderly patients, calling it a painkiller. Victims died peacefully. Grateful families appreciated their loved ones' suffering-free deaths, preventing any suspicion. His killing began with Eva Lyons in 1975. His systematic spree peaked in the 1990s. He primarily targeted elderly women during final visits to their homes. As their doctor, he prepared death certificates himself, perfectly covering his tracks. His downfall came through 81-year-old Kathleen Grundy's case. After her death, her will surprisingly left everything to Shipman. Her suspicious daughter ordered morphine analysis, revealing lethal levels in the corpse. Investigation exposed Shipman's abnormally high patient death rate. Despite overwhelming evidence, he maintained his innocence, claiming he helped patients. Sentenced to life imprisonment, he committed suicide in his cell in 2004. He left behind the medical profession's most devastating betrayal of trust. Andrei Chikatilo. Soviet ideology claimed serial killers only existed in capitalist countries. This allowed Andrei Chikatilo to murder for 12 years undetected. The Rostov Ripper brutally killed 53 children and women. The system's denial delayed his capture. His killing began in 1978 with 9-year-old Lena Zakotnova. He stabbed her after attempting rape. This murder connected violence with sexual satisfaction in his mind. By 1982, his method became systematic. He hunted at train stations, lured victims with job promises to wooded areas, then dismembered and cannibalized them. He removed victims' eyes, fearing recognition through their gaze. Soviet authorities refused to acknowledge a serial killer. They classified murders as separate crimes, preventing investigation coordination. This denial led to executing an innocent man, Alexander Kravchenko, for one of Chikatilo's crimes. He was finally caught in 1990 when police spotted him leaving a train station after a murder. DNA testing confirmed his guilt. In court, he mocked victims' families while acting insane. Executed in 1994, Chikatilo's case exposed how totalitarian regimes' reality manipulation enables tragedies and victimizes innocence. It demonstrated the deadly consequences of ideological denial. Luis Garavito. Luis Garavito, known by his criminal alias, was one of Colombia's most notorious criminals. Authorities linked him to hundreds of cases involving crimes against children during the 1990s and early 2000s. Operating during a period of significant social instability in Colombia, Garavito targeted vulnerable minors. He focused particularly on those living on the streets. His criminal activities went largely undetected due to the country's ongoing civil conflict and limited resources for tracking missing persons cases. His apprehension in 1999 occurred during an unrelated incident. Subsequent investigations revealed the full scope of his criminal activities. Garavito cooperated with authorities to locate evidence related to his crimes. This led to the discovery of numerous crime scenes across Colombia. This case highlighted significant issues regarding child protection and safety measures in Colombia during that era. Garavito remained incarcerated until his death in 2023. This marked the end of one of the country's most significant criminal cases. This version removes graphic details, avoids sensationalizing violence, and focuses on factual information rather than disturbing specifics. It frames the content in a more educational and documentary context, making it suitable for YouTube's community guidelines. Pedro López. Pedro López, known as the Monster of the Andes, was convicted in one of Latin America's most extensive criminal investigations. His crimes spanned Colombia, Peru, and Ecuador during the 1970s and 1980s. After childhood abandonment at age 7 and abuse on the streets, López began criminal activities in 1969. Criminal psychologists have studied how early trauma contributed to his behavior patterns. He targeted vulnerable children near markets and schools across multiple countries. Apprehended in Ecuador in 1980, López confessed to involvement in numerous cases. Law enforcement located evidence and crime scenes based on his statements during questioning. This confirmed the scope of his criminal activities. Due to Ecuador's legal framework, he received the maximum 20-year sentence. He was released in 1998 after serving his full term. His current whereabouts remain unknown to authorities. This case has been extensively studied by criminologists and law enforcement agencies. It highlights crucial issues around international cooperation in criminal investigations and victim protection protocols. It remains significant for understanding criminal behavior patterns and improving investigative methods across Latin American jurisdictions. It also emphasizes the importance of enhanced child safety measures in vulnerable communities. Alexander Pichushkin. Moscow's Bitsa Park became the city's most feared location in the 2000s due to Alexander Pichushkin, who killed 48 people there. His twisted goal was murdering 64 victims, one for each square on a chessboard, marking each square after every kill. Pichushkin's violence stemmed from childhood trauma. A head injury at age 4 changed his personality, making him violent and empathy deficient. His first murder occurred in 1992 at 18, when he pushed school friend Mikhail Ojichuk from a window. After a 9-year hiatus, systematic killing resumed in 2001. Targeting elderly men, he invited them to play chess in Bitsa Park before leading them to secluded areas and bludgeoning them with hammers. Sometimes he inserted bottles into victims' mouths, seeking to maximize their suffering. For Pichushkin, murder replaced sexual gratification. "Killing people satisfies me sexually," he admitted, savoring memories for days after each kill. His capture in 2006 came through victim Marina Moskaliova's phone, which he carelessly kept. When arrested, he'd marked his 61st square, approaching his macabre goal. Showing no remorse in court, he declared, "I felt like God." Sentenced to life imprisonment in Russia's most secure prison, his case demonstrates how childhood trauma can create monsters. Israel Keyes. In 2012, 18-year-old Samantha Koenig disappeared from an Alaska coffee shop. Her disappearance exposed America's most systematic serial killer. Israel Keyes was perhaps history's most calculating murderer, leaving no traces in the digital age. Keyes' trademark was meticulous planning. He buried kill kits with weapons, cash, and chemicals across America and Canada. This enabled untraceable murders anywhere. Operating since the 1990s, he randomly selected unknown victims. He avoided digital footprints, used only cash, and left no phone traces. His method was coldly professional. He studied areas, planned escape routes, then killed randomly. The Vermont courier couple demonstrated his preparation. He murdered them in their home and disposed of their bodies in a lake. Most shocking was his normal facade. Keyes was an Alaska contractor living with his girlfriend and daughter. Neighbors described him as quiet but kind, never suspecting his nationwide spree. The Koenig case ended his reign. After killing her, he photographed her corpse and demanded ransom. This led to FBI tracking and his capture in Texas. He confessed to 11 or more murders while refusing details. Keyes committed suicide in 2012, leaving the note, "The game is now over," taking murder secrets to his grave.